Good morning, students. Welcome back. Today I am going to discuss the chapter Rattrap from Flamingo. This is fourth chapter of Flamingo and an interesting one. Rat trap. What does the word rat trap suggest to you? It is some kind of a trap which are being used to catch the rats. So, as you must have understood that the story must be having a theme around some rat trap or some rat or some person who must be behaving like a rat. Okay, let's see. Let's study about the narrator. Selma Lagerlöf was a Swedish writer whose stories have been translated into many languages. This story is set in the middle of the mines of Sweden, which are rich in iron ore. The story is narrated in the manner of a fairy tale. It gives us the message that the emotions of love and acceptance can reform others. Have you experienced it somewhere? After reading the story, you will definitely going to experiences in your surrounding. Character. Let's have a look over the characters. A peddler with red traps. He is a peddler, a hawker, you can say, who used to sell the red traps. An old man who was a crofter. Crofter can be, it is like a designation. Master of smith in Ramsjö's iron mill in Sweden. Helpers in the mill, blacksmiths. Iron mill owner. Edla will mention daughter of the iron mill owner. Theme of the chapter. The story is basically about an old, disheartened peddler who is taken in and shown generosity by a young woman. Her generosity and kindness change his bitter attitude towards life. The peddler is a man who has fallen upon misfortune and now resorts to selling rat traps, begging, and thievery. Remember, he used to sell the rat traps, begging, and thievery. He is very pessimistic about the world around him and sees the world as merely a rat trap. Rat trap. He believes that society tempts us with riches and fine things, and when we accept, we are caught in the trap and are left with nothing. The story conveys a universal message that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through love, respect, kindness, and understanding. It highlights the human predicament. Material benefits are the traps that most human beings are prone to fall into. Human beings do have a tendency to redeem themselves from dishonest ways, as does the peddler at the end of the story. Okay, before starting, let me ask you one question. Do you think that the criminals who are being caught and they are being pushed in behind the bars can be changed if we do some good behavior with them, or only punishment will do? They should be punished or they should be treated well to have a chance to change themselves. Let's start the summary. Once there was a man who used to sell small rat traps made of wire. These rat traps were made by him in his free time. He used to collect the material required by begging from stores or big farms. Still, his business was not earning him any profits. Therefore, he had to beg or steal in order to survive. So, for his survival, he used to depend on three things. He used to sell the red traps, he used to beg or steal. His clothes were all old and torn. His cheeks were lowered inside due to malnutrition, and one could easily see the hunger in his eyes always. He had never enjoyed full meal in his life. The life of the Rattrap Seller was very sad and boring. He was homeless and slowly, with heavy feet, he walked along the road, lost in his own thoughts. Nobody was there to share his feelings, to share his sorrow. He was all alone in this entire world. But one day he got lost in a series of thoughts which he found very interesting. The man was thinking about the rat trap, and suddenly a thought came into his mind. What was that? He thought that the entire world, which includes land, sea, cities, and villages, was similar to a rat trap. He thought that there was no meaning of the existence of this world. It was nothing but a temptation, just like cheese and pork, which we offer as bait to catch the rat. So, according to him, as soon as someone tries to comfort himself with joy, food, and shelter, he at once gets trapped into this rat trap, which is known as world. This was his own philosophy that the entire world, with all his riches, rivers, luxuries, food, shelter, is nothing just a rat trap, which is being used by God to catch us. No one in the world had ever been kind to the Rattrap Seller. Why he was thinking negative feelings about the world? Because the world had never cared about him. So he started thinking ill of others. It became a favorite pastime for him. During dull morning moments, these thoughts made him happy. So he continued with thinking ill of those who were known to him. He would imagine those people who were already trapped in the rat trap of worldly things and also those who were about to get trapped in it. One evening, the rat trap seller was walking very slowly. He saw a little grey cottage which stood by the road. He went up to the cottage and knocked at the door so as to get shelter for the night. Generally, he was not helped by anyone, but this time he was welcomed by the old man into his cottage. He was surprised why that man has welcomed him, and the reason was that the man was a lonely old man without wife and kids. The old man was happy to get company that night. So the old man gave him some porridge to eat and then shared his tobacco with the guest. After this, both played cards till bedtime. The rat trap seller felt that the old man was not only liberal in sharing his porridge but also his secrets, as the old man tells him that earlier he was a rich man when he used to work on the rented farm. As he was old now and couldn't work, so he had to depend upon his cow for his living. The cow gave him enough milk every day to be sold in the factory that produced cheese and cream. The old man said that he was able to earn 30 kronors last month because of the cow's milk. The red trap seller did not believe the old man's word that a cow could earn him so much. Therefore, the old man took a leather pouch which hung on a window and took out three notes of 10 kronor. Kronor is a currency of Sweden, each 10 kronor each, which were old and crushed. He showed those currency notes to make him believe his words and then kept them back in the pouch. Next morning, both the red trap seller and the crofter woke up early, as the crofter was in a hurry to milk his cow. Even the red trap seller felt that as the owner of the house had awakened, so he should also leave the bed. They both came out of the cottage at the same time. The old man himself locked the door and went to his work. The red trap seller also thanked him and went his own way. But after about half an hour, the red trap seller returned to the cottage and he broke down the window pane where the pouch hung. He took away the money, kept it in his pocket, put the pouch back at its place, and walked off. The peddler was quite happy, as he had money in his pocket. He then thought of walking through the forest, as it was unsafe to walk on the highway because He feared being caught, so he became smart and he took the way of forest. So initially it was not difficult to walk through the forest, but later on it got confusing for him as he forgot his way. He tried hard to walk in the right direction, but in vain, as he found himself at the same place again and again. At this point of time, he started thinking that now he himself was caught in the trap of the world, just like other people. It was his turn now. He was fooled by the bait of money which he had stolen from the old man's house. The forest seemed like a prison full of trunks and branches. It was like an impassable prison. As it was the month of December, it got dark early. As it got dark, his hope of escaping the forest reduced. The danger of his life increased, and so did his feeling of being hopeless. There was no way left for him. So he sat on the ground and was so tired and terrified that he thought this was his last moment, and soon he would die. As he laid his head on the ground, he heard a very strong regular sound. It was a hard sound that was coming at the regular intervals. He soon realized that these sounds were the sounds of hammer strokes from an iron mill. He thought that he could find some people nearby. With this thought, he gathered some strength and started walking with great difficulty towards the direction of the sound. The Ramshaw Iron Works, where the crofter was working earlier, that old man. The Ramshaw Iron Work was a large plant which had shut down few years ago. It had a smelter, rolling mill, and a forge. In summers, long flat bottomed boats carrying the material would come down the canal, which led to a large lake for supplying material to the mill, and in winters the roads turned black because of the coal dust that came along due to the transportation of the charcoal crates. On one long dark evening near Christmas time, the master smith and his helper were sitting in the dark forge which was built near the furnace. He was wearing a long shirt. This was the scene of the furnace where in Ramjo's iron work because it was closed since many days. So the new owner was using it just to do a small business. So here the blacksmith, master smith or blacksmith were working. He was wearing a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. Both of them were waiting for the pig iron which was put inside the furnace to be ready to put onto the anvil. Anvil is a heavy block with flat top which is used to shape the metals. They took turns to stir the liquid which was very hot. As they could bear the heat for a few minutes, each of them would return, sweating profusely. One could hear different types of sound in the forge. There was a big bellow which was blowing air in the fire with great sound. Also, there was the sound of cracking coal. Could also hear the bang of the charcoal which was being shoveled by the fire boy. This was the scene of the furnace and all how they were stirring the fire and using the liquid pig iron. The sounds which were coming from outside the mill. These were of the waterfall. The high speed north wind which hit the raindrops against the brick tiled roof. It was due to these different types of sounds that the blacksmith didn't realize that a man had opened the gate of the fort and had entered, till he came and stood near the furnace. Many homeless people used to get attracted to the lights of the forge, which peeked through the window panes, which were covered with the black powder of burnt coal. They would seek shelter there. They would warm themselves with the help of the burning fire. As the blacksmiths were accustomed to the visitors, they were indifferent to the man. It means that many often there were many people who used to come near the furnace to warm themselves in the season of winter. So the blacksmith and master blacksmith did not pay attention to their new visitor. They were indifferent to the man. They just looked at him. The Rattrap Seller's appearance was similar to that of other wanderers. He had a long beard, which was dirty, wore old worn out clothes, rags, and had a bunch of red traps hanging from his chest. The peddler tried to seek permission from the blacksmith so that he could stay in the forge for a night. He allowed the peddler with an arrogant consent by just nodding and didn't say a single word to him. The peddler also said nothing because his main aim was to warm himself and sleep. The owner of the Ramjo iron mill in those days was a very ambitious person whose aim was to sell only the finest iron into the market. Therefore, he used to keep a check on the workers both during the night and the day. The owner was on a night inspection visit when the peddler entered the forge. Unlike the blacksmith, the ironmaster at once noticed the peddler, who was sitting so close to the furnace that steam was coming out of his torn clothes. He not only went near him but also removed the wanderer's hat that was bent to one side one side so that he could see the man's face clearly. When the ironmaster took off the peddler's hat, he mistook him as an old acquaintance, Nils Ulf. The peddler didn't know him, nor had he seen this man before, but he thought that if this man mistook him as his old companion and gave him some money out of pity, then it would be a good thing. So he just kept mum. Therefore, he didn't let him know that he had mistaken him as Nils Olaf. So the peddler started a conversation with the ironmaster by saying that things didn't went well with him. To this the ironmaster replied that he had made a big mistake by leaving the regiment. He also added that if he would have been working in the regiment when he resigned, he would not have let him do so. Later on, he invited him to his home. Understood? The ironmaster mistook him as his own friend who used to work in regiment and invited him to his home. The Rattrap Seller didn't find it to be a good idea to visit the ironmaster's place. He was frightened with the idea of visiting to the large house of an old soldier, which according to him was not safe. After all, he had the stolen money with him. He didn't want to put himself in danger. His intentions were to sleep in the forge and then go away from there without even being noticed. The ironmaster was aware of his friend's miserable condition, so he tried to make him comfortable by saying that he should feel free to come his home as his home was an ordinary one. He told him that his wife was no more and added that he must be aware of this. Then he let him know that both his sons were settled abroad. Only he and his daughter were left at home. He invited him to celebrate Christmas with his family so that he and his daughter may have some good company at the Christmas feast. Though the ironmaster made many attempts to invite him, the peddler didn't accept his invitation. So at last he says to the blacksmith, stern storm, that it seemed that Captain Von Estelle wanted to stay with him in the forge. Von Estelle is being used for the peddler. Then he laughed and went away. But the blacksmith knew that he was hiding something. After a gap of half an hour, the ironmaster sent his daughter. He hoped that his daughter may bring his friend home, as he believed that she was better in persuading others. The ironmaster's daughter entered the mill with her attendant, who was carrying a big fur coat. She was a humble girl who was very shy. When she entered, everyone was busy the same way as they had been earlier. The blacksmith was still sitting on the bench with his trainees and was working on the iron. She went direct to the peddler and lifted his hat. The peddler had a habit of sleeping with one eye open, and as soon as he saw her, he got shocked and jumped up. She introduced herself as Adla Wilmension and was sorry to hear about the hard times that he was facing. She explained to him that she had come to take him home with her father's permission. Adla had sympathy for the peddler, but then she noticed that the reason behind his fear could be that important thing is there that either he had committed robbery or jailbreak. So she said that he was free to leave their house at any time, but she wanted him to stay with the family just for Christmas Eve. It is an important paragraph. Adla was talking to Paddler in a very nice way, which made him believe her, and he got ready to go with her. The peddler wore the fur coat offered by the wallet and started following the lady. He didn't even bother to notice the other people in the room. On the way to the house, the peddler felt that as he had committed a crime, he would be punished for it. He started cursing himself that if he had not stolen the money, he would not have got trapped like this. The money was a bait which had led him into a trap. The next day was Christmas Eve. Both the ironmaster and his daughter were at the dining table. The ironmaster said to his daughter that they had to do something good for the peddler and should try to find some better job for him. The ironmaster's daughter said that it was so strange to see that the peddler had been in such hard times and was doubtful whether the man had been educated. Hearing this, the ironmaster clarified that it was due to his bad condition. He also added that the man would behave differently after getting clean and dressed up. While both father and daughter were discussing about the peddler, he entered the room with the wallet. He was now looking clean as he had bathed and his hair had been cut by the wallet. He was wearing the ironmaster's clothes and shoes, a shirt with a starched collar and shoes which covered the entire feet. The ironmaster seemed very angry to see his well groomed guest, as now he could make out his appearance well and realized that he was not his comrade. He understood that he mistook some stranger as his old friend. He screamed at him and asked him to explain. The peddler knew that the ironmaster could make out that he was not his old friend. He also remembered that the glamour of the night has disappeared now. As he already knew this, he was ready for the consequences and felt that the luxurious treatment was about to end. The peddler tried to explain that he should not be blamed. He said that he was just begging for a stay in the forge. He also said that he had not harmed anyone and was ready to wear his rags again. To this, the ironmaster hesitated and said that the peddler had not been quite honest, and so he wanted to call the sheriff, means police. The Rattrap Seller gets so enraged, angry, upon hearing about the sheriff, that he struck the table very hard with his fist. He said, he used his own philosophy here. He said, that is, this world is a rat trap, and all the good things are bait. Just like the rents of cheese and small pieces of pork are bait for the rat, which is offered to trap it. Not only this, he also pointed out to the ironmaster that he may today be imprisoned by the sheriff, but one day the ironmaster will also get trapped like this. The ironmaster didn't like the peddler's words and decided not to call the sheriff. He asked the peddler to leave at once. The ironmaster stopped the peddler. She wanted to help the poor fellow. Since morning, she was planning how she could make the paddler stay happy on the occasion of Christmas. Therefore, she went against her father's will and stopped him by closing the door. She was not ready to come out of this idea that this Christmas Eve she is going to do something real, she is going to help a poor person. She tried to explain the difficulties faced by the paddler. She said that he didn't have any house. He was turned out from everywhere, wherever he went, and he always kept on running in order to safeguard himself from being arrested. She said that she wanted him to enjoy Christmas with peace, as they had promised him. They should not send away a man on Christmas, the man whom they had promised happiness on the day. The ironmaster was not able to find an answer to go against his daughter. The only thing he could say to his daughter was that she was trying good at convincing others, better than the priest at the church. But he also warned her that hopefully her decision would not bring any adverse effect on them. The girl took the paddler to the table and offered him food. She saw that her father had consented to her wish. The paddler didn't say any word and started eating. Though he was doubtful about her intentions and was wondering why she stopped him, the paddler went to sleep after having food. He did not cause harm to anyone and lay down on the sofa in the guest house. He was once woken up in the afternoon, but after having his lunch, he again went to sleep. It was like as if he had never got the chance to sleep so peacefully as he had got at this place. In the evening, the family woke him as they had to light up the Christmas tree. He stood there, blinking as if was getting hurt by the bright light of the candles. He again went to sleep. Finally, they called him again for the dinner of Christmas fish and porridge. After the dinner was over, the paddler thanked everyone present. The ironmaster's daughter said that the clothes which were given to him were a Christmas present from her father, so he could carry them with him. She even invited the paddler to be with her family for the next Christmas Eve and promised that nothing bad would happen to him. The paddler did not have an answer for this and stared at the girl with wonder. Next day, both Ironmaster and his daughter went for the Christmas service early in the morning. They didn't disturb their guest as he was asleep. Both Ironmaster and his daughter had come to know that a Rattrap Seller had stolen money from the old crofter. They realized that he was the same man whom they had over as a guest. The ironmaster said to his daughter that it was his daughter who insisted to give shelter to a thief and was wondering that how many silver spoons had been stolen by him. The ironmaster, on reaching home, inquired about the paddler from the wallet. He also told him that he was a thief. To his surprise, the wallet told him that the paddler, instead of taking something, had left a small Christmas gift for Miss Edla Wilmension. The ironmaster's daughter opened the gift. It was so roughly packed that she could easily guess what was inside the pack. Apart from a red trap and 3 kronol notes, there was a letter. The paddler had thanked his host, who had taken care of him as if he was a real captain. In return, he gifted her a rat trap and also requested her to return the stolen money to the old man. He said that it was she who let him free from the rat trap by raising his status from that of a mere peddler to that of a captain. At last, he undersigned as Captain Von Stale. So, this was a long story but an interesting one, and important questions you have to prepare from the text. In the story we have many characters who are the victims of loneliness and alienation. You have to go through all. Thank you. Stay home, save lives, enjoy.